Good day everyone, I'm Khailla Riche, BSBA Marketing Management student. And today I'm gonna be talking about the intercultural presentation, the communication modes, practices, and styles, both verbal and non-verbal cues of Spain. Spanish verbal communication styles. The first one is direct communication. Generally, Spaniards have a direct communication style. They tend to speak very openly and are comfortable showing emotion. This can give some foreigners from more reserved cultures that impression that Spaniards are very confident people, leading them to make decisions under this assumption when this may not necessarily be the case. They speak clearly about their point and generally like to leave an interaction having voiced all their opinions. In return, they expect similar honesty from their conversation partner, and hence may fail to read into understatement. It is important to avoid ambiguity and indirect speech. Next one. Request. The Spanish phrasing of request is generally quite direct. This differs from many places in the English-speaking West, where it is more common to use conditional expressions and polite forms. For example, could I please have a coffee? In Castilian Spanish, someone would commonly ask for a coffee by saying, would you give me a coffee? Or, give me a coffee please. The next one. Common courtesy. Consider that please and thank you are not said as habitually in Spain. This is not intended to be rude. Rather, some Spanish may find it a bit excessive to express profuse gratitude and politeness throughout everyday exchanges. Next one. Silence. They are not particularly comfortable with silence in social situations. If conversation does fall quiet, it may be perceived to reflect badly on the relationship with the conversation partner. Consider that Spaniards can struggle to stay quiet for duration of time. Next one, informality. The polite form of speech involves addressing people in the formal form of you, known as "usted." This was once used to mark social distance between superiors and inferiors, even within the family. However, today it is not commonly used in day-to-day conversation. Most Spaniards tend to use the informal pronoun tú in most situations. For example, Señor, ¿puede usted firmar aquí por favor? Which in English means, Sir, can you please sign here, please? There are different forms of expression in Spanish that communicate varying levels of courtesy and formality. Next one. Inverted question marks. In Spanish and Catalan languages, questions are written uninverted or upside down. Question mark at the beginning of the sentence. Next one. Interruption and volume. It is common and acceptable for friends to interrupt and talk over one another as people get excited about a conversation. In some cases, people may shout to be heard. This is not necessarily rude but indicates full engagement with the discussion. One often hears Spaniards call out and even heckle during speaking and engagements and performances. This is expected to be taken in jest. Next one. Swearing. Swearing is common and generally acceptable among friends. Humor. People often have many funny stories that they are prepared to tell to liven up a room. However, be aware that it is not common for people to banter by poking fun at each other in critical ways. Spaniards love to joke throughout conversation, but it is best not to angle humor too personally at the expense of those in the room. Now, let's proceed to nonverbal communication styles. The first one is personal space. Spaniards generally keep about half a meter of personal space from one another. Men are generally less protective of their personal space than those in the English-speaking West. Nevertheless, women are generally more comfortable with closer proximities. Second one, physical contact. The Spanish tend to be quite tactile and expressive with their physical touch. Open displays of affection between couples are common and acceptable. It is common to see people walking hand in hand, or friends walking together with their arms in their lap. Among friends, people may nudge your arm, elbow, or leg to reinforce their points in conversations. Put an arm around your shoulder in a camaraderie or hold your both shoulders to show deep appreciation. Eye contact. Direct eye contact is expected during conversation in Spain. Body language. Spaniards may gesticulate more in general conversation. They tend to be quiet, demonstrative with their expressions, using their hands to emphasize their points. Beckoning. The most common way to beckon another person is to hold one's hand up with the palms facing upward and waving one's finger towards oneself, avoiding using a single index finger alone as this can have suggestive tones. Pointing. Avoid directly pointing at people with the index finger. This is considered rude. Gestures. People may give one another a nonverbal cue to alert those around them if they see someone that they suspect is a thief. This involves extending a hand out and lightly touching each finger to the palm. Additional information. The communication style of Spaniards in Spain seems to be very direct yet in a diplomatic way, meaning that they convey the truth in a polite manner. Communicating in public tends to be slightly formal, whereas casualness occurs more in private settings. Spanish people use a lot of nonverbal communication, which they frequently use the hand gestures and facial expressions in most common situations. Based on business settings, verbal communication is lesser focused than an individual and his behaviors, and so therefore, foreigners should be conscious regarding their verbal hints. While talking to the Spanish, a person must give them a direct eye contact since it is socially anticipated and appreciated. Moreover, using of titles is quite significant in Spain, and an individual should be called Mr., Mrs., or Miss in Spanish. Nonetheless, first names cannot be casually called unless a person informs the speaker to do so. In official occasions, there are the terms Don and Doña to be obligatorily put in front of their names as said by Dre 2008.